Welcome guys to the graph section as promised for this mega planar battle. I'm going to start off here with the graphs for the MP145 and then we'll go down the other road. Okay, so this first graph, apologies, this is not the first one. This first graph here is the graph for the very first MP145 that I received. So the one that was, let's say, the original, with the original tuning, and this is with the silver nozzle. I subsequently got a second one, which was supposedly the one with the retune. And yes, you can see that there's a little bit of a difference there, and a little bit of a difference there. But I'll be hard pressed to find anyone that can truly distinguish this here. Okay. And then I subsequently got a third version last year, as I mentioned, which is this one, which you again can see kind of seems to have risen the bass again a little bit more, and it's again more similar to the first version with just a little bit of a difference there. Now, and this is not arrogance on my side or whatever you want to call it, but honestly, I would like to see someone tell me that they can definitely hear a difference between these three. Okay, and again, let me just make this perfectly clear. This is my experience. 3 units. I actually even heard a 4th unit that I also graphed, and for some reason I just can't find that 4th graph, and it belongs to a friend of mine. I was actually going to ask him to lend it to me again so that I could even graph it again and show it to you. So 4 units, and they're all graphed basically the same, with honestly no perceivable difference. Both myself and that friend of mine, nothing. Now, if there is other people out there that had an experience that wasn't as favorable, look, all I can say is, life happens, things happen. I mean, I just had a review now that I did for the Titan X, and I enjoyed the Duno Titan X. I think that for the price and the intention of that IM was, it's a phenomenal IM. But I got a comment from another fan, another hobbyist, saying that the Titan X was an absolute disgrace and he doesn't like it and this and this and that. And that's legitimate. It's his prerogative to be able to say that. So there's also people out there that are totally entitled to say that the MP145 sucks. Hey, it is what it is. I mean, as you guys know, I reviewed now as well the Divine and the Diablo. And to be totally honest, although I can understand the reason behind the Diablo, the 7Hz Diablo, I don't really understand why go to the point of overly emphasize the bass that much when what ultimately is the result is an IM that is just too bassy. The same situation happens, for example, with the MK12 Duck Bloke version versus the MK12 Tourist Standard version. It makes no sense to do that because it just takes away from the whole magic that the IM is capable of. So I hope that this will finally put to rest this whole issue. Now, as I said, with the silver nozzle, this is the result. If I use the red nozzle on these original MP145s, this is what I get. Okay, as you can see. All right. Basically, we lower the energy here between just over 1 kilohertz and around 8, and this makes for a darker sounding IM. It sounds fine, but obviously, I mean, I would only really use this tuning if you are really very averse to the high frequency, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. I think the MP145 with the silver nozzle sounds absolutely incredible. Okay, enter now the new MP145 Pro, and I'm going to take away the one with the, I'm going to leave the old, which is a top graph, and the new. And as you can see, they graph basically identical. Is there a perceived difference in sound? Yes, definitely the bass is different. By the bass levels being different from the OG to the new one, this whole part of the spectrum here does change. And yes, the extension up top is noticeably different as well from one to the other. But it is, in my opinion, noticeably different in a good way. Not that it was bad, but the perception that you get by listening to the OG and then going into the Pro is that the OG is kind of colored excessively to a certain extent, and the OG is, and the Pro, my apologies, is now more correct sounding, more audiophile sounding, and that's what I think ultimately was the whole intention behind the Pro tuning, okay, was to make it become way more correct sounding, okay. This is therefore the Pro with the red nozzle, okay. With the other nozzles, the level increases. Let me just get them here for you guys quickly. So high senior, there we go. Oh, high senior, my god, forgive me, sorry. Hidizs, where are we? Okay, there we go. So now Hidizs MP145. Let's get now the different. All right. Hidizs MP45 silver 45 Pro. Where are you? 45 Pro. 45 Pro there. The 45 Pro here somewhere. Apologies, guys. Oh, here we go. So gold, red, and silver. Let me just put all of them. So gold, okay, then open red, open and silver. Pro silver. Okay, my apologies, what happened here? Cancel. What happened? Ah, okay, I know what happened. I have to do away with one of these other readings here. I have to do away with this one. Okay, and now open. Let's put the silver now. My apologies, guys, I should have done this before actually starting the video, but anyway. Okay, so these are the three. The bottom line is then the one with the red nozzle, which is the one that I ended up liking the most, where I feel that the coherence that is then present is a much more sustained coherence. If you look at the 100 hertz point where it corresponds to, and the energy that we have there versus the energy we have behind, it matches nicely. With the other nozzles, especially with the silver, which is the last one that I placed, let me just quickly leave that one on its own. Okay, what we have is that 100 hertz point now allows for there to be more energy. By itself, you might not see that, but sorry, but when you compare it with the red, you do notice that there's a difference, and that difference in energy, in my opinion, makes the 145 Pro sound, yes, very detailed, very musical at lower frequencies, but a little bit on the excessive side, okay, in my opinion, once you start pushing the volume. At least that's how I felt. I felt that it started becoming overly planar, if that is a way of even maybe putting things. But look, guys, that's me. That's how I heard it. That's how it sounded to me. The reality is this: the 145 Pro is an exceptional IEM, an IEM that honestly I feel Hidizs has done all the let's say the necessary work to make it sound competent, and to make it definitely an IEM that deserves let's say the right to be called an upgrade over the original. As I said before as well, for me the original was an incredible IEM. I had nothing wrong to say about it. I always thought it was an exceptional IEM. And the new one, honestly, I say this with true conviction on what I'm saying, and the new one I feel has done enough to deserve it. The saying, or yes, it's a successor. It's a deserved successor to the original. Anyway, let me just quickly just normalize this before I carry on, so that things can be more to my liking. Okay, so that's it. OG versus the now new one. Now just a quick breakdown of the Pro rather, compared with some of the other IEMs that I brought out, so that you guys can have again a perception, or have a general idea of what you know it's capable of. What is this one here? Sorry, I apologize, guys. I really. Oh yes. No, forget it. No, don't pay attention. Okay, let's start off here with, where is it? The TRN Azure Dragon. This was the successor to the Kirin, and as you can see, and I'll actually just make it black here quickly. And as you can see, when I place the graph of one over the other, the Azure is, you know, is tuned pretty decently. It is. There's really nothing that can be used as a criticism. Now, how does it sound compared to the MP145Pro? The MP145 sounds more polished. That's, I think, is the best way I can describe it. The graph, you wouldn't think that would be the you know, the takeaway. You notice that the Dragon has got a little bit more up top. I don't really hear that far up, but I'm sure that some of you will pick this up, and I think that by having this here, maybe you will feel that it's those that are capable of hearing that far up high will maybe notice that it's maybe a little bit like I said, overly colored. Okay, but you know, it is a competent sounding IM, the Azure Dragon. It is, trust me, it is. But the 145 is better, and when you consider that they cost basically the same thing, 145 Pro, I mean, it's not even a you know, a question. If they had maintained, if TRN had maintained the price of the Azure Dragon closer to the $100 price point, like we have the case of the Shows EP20 and so on and so forth, yes, then maybe I think the TRN would have gotten more attention. That's the reality. Okay, talking about the Shozy, this is the Shozy. Let me change the color as well. Let me make the Shozy here. Okay, this is the Shozy, and the Shozy, if you are looking carefully at the Shozy, okay, let me just put up here something quickly so you notice. If I put up the original 145, you can see something which I mentioned at the time as well, which is they graph very, but when I mean very close, they graph very close, and they sound very close. Okay, I would say that the Shows EP20 is most likely using a similar driver, if not the same driver as the original 145, and it's tuned with just a single setting. It doesn't got the exchangeable nozzles, and that setting being the silver nozzle on the OG 145. And trust me, guys, you listen to one and listen to the other like I did, and yes, you can pick up on some differences, but nothing truly significant, although the graph might say otherwise, for you to say, no, I can definitely pick up on one and on the other. And what I'm trying to say by all of this is that the Shows EP20 is one of those unsung heroes. Okay, I've seen this IM come down to as low as $65, and for $65, it is a no-brainer, my friends. Let me put it to you this way. For that amount of money, it is a no-brainer. It is a fantastic IM that plays phenomenally well. Okay, so that's that. Take this away, put back the Pro, and carry on here. Just quickly throwing the RTT10 Pro. Yes, there we go. This is the RTT10 Pro. Very similar. What I did notice between the RT and the 145 Pro is the RT's got a little bit more perceived bass. Not a huge difference, but you pick up on it here and there, but not enough. Again, it's not a difference which is sustainable enough for you to easily identify one or the other. I had a hard time as well differentiating between the two of them. And again, the RTT10 Pro is another IM, another planar IM, manufactured by Let's Sure, from what I understand, which has again gone very much under the radar, and it's a really good IM, really good. Okay, we then have some of the bigger names. The SIVGA ET142 with this silver the silver and the silver black short nozzle. I identify it that way, which is the one that for me works the best. And yes, you do notice that there's a little bit less energy in this upper mids and treble area as compared to the 145 Pro. You do notice it, but you also notice that it's a little bit more forward. And overall, the presentation of the ET142 is warmer. It's a warmer sounding. It's got more of a DD vibe. Let's put it that way. But an exceptional IEM once again. ET142 is an exceptional planar IEM. The QE Ears Ether is the next one that I'm putting up. Very, very similar. And yes, it is easy to identify or distinguish between the two of them for the simple reason that one has a metal shell, okay, and the other has the Hidizs, obviously, and the other has a resin shell. And that difference in the shell is giving us a tonality which is which you are capable of identifying. Okay, that's the reality. You're capable of identifying the difference in that tonality, in that timbre, coupled to the fact that yes, again, the upper mids and the treble area here on the ether is a little bit more subdued, and so it gives it a more kind of a DD presentation. If you actually compare it here again with the SIVGA, you'll see that the two of them are also very, very similar. They kind of trade blows in where they peak and but they very, very similar. Okay, let's put again the 145, and let's go to the next one. This time around the Tangzu, the Zetian Wu, the legend. Let me make it again a different color here, red perhaps. Yes, there we go. And that's the Tangzu. I think it's once again self-explanatory. And if you notice one thing which is very interesting, be it the Tangzu, be it the SIVGA, be it the ether, be it the SIVGA, they all have the same sort of tuning base or bass tuning, which I think is kind of a consensus that most have now reached, which is that the way the bass, when the bass is done in this way, is where you get the best performance for that part of the frequency range. So bass, lower bass, and lower mids. Or rather, let me rephrase that: sub bass, mid bass, and then lower mids. And then how you then do this part of the spectrum, the mids, upper mids, and treble, will then dictate the character of the overall sound, being more clinical, more planar-ish, or more warm, more DD-ish. Okay, and that's where you start distinguishing the different styles. So the Tangzu, again, an incredible sounding IEM with that dual planar setup, really solid, a really solid sounding IEM. Okay, next one, I believe this is the S12 exactly. Once again, the same formula being repeated, and you'll notice S12 again. Let me just quickly show you Zetian Wu. That's always this. It's kind of a formula that yes, this sounds good. This is what we'll try to repeat. Okay. Next one, Timeless 2 with the setup of the nozzle that I like is one where you notice that there's more sub bass focus on the Timeless 2, and you can perceive that extra sub bass, and you also perceive that there's more air up top. Okay, that's different. This is one of those other IEMs that it has done enough for it to distinguish itself. Okay, next one. Oh, the Divine. Yes, this is going to be a good one as well. The Divine, very similar. The difference between the 145 Pro and the Divine, you notice it up top. You notice that the Divine is more relaxed, more laid back in the presentation that it has up top, but it still is capable of maintaining a very high degree of planar magic, and it sounds incredible. Honestly, really solid. Okay. So that's the Divine. I mean, the Diablo, I guess I can show it to you guys as well. Crazy bass. Actually, if I just put the two, the Diablo and the Divine, you will see what I said as well during the review. They kind of similar-ish up top. You don't really distinguish between the two of them, but the bass that it has, it's just ridiculous. I think it's just too much. It's overwhelming. This part here, especially, maybe if they had made the bass be thick over there, but then kind of tucked it in, that would have been, that's something that I would like someone do. Maybe if a dual planar is made by a brand, I don't know, maybe using the 15mm planar for the bass duties down low, and then maybe a 12 or a 10 for the rest. That could be an interesting setup. That could be something that would you know, maybe be pretty impressive. But this mid bass thickness here is, I think, a little bit overwhelming. Okay. And that's that's basically all of them. So again, let me just quickly show you, comparing the Divine with the Diablo. That's the graph there, simple, you know, easy. And then finally the Nightingale, the Pro, which is this one. And this is again a graph that you look at it and you think, okay, all right, fine. Remember what I said during the review, the fact that it's rolling off here is not really a detrimental effect. It doesn't really have a detrimental effect. Why? Because then the rest of the frequency is very neutralish, and it's followed by not a huge pinna gain. I mean, this is just basically a peak, and we're talking roughly, so 75 to 82, we're talking 7 dBs, okay? But it's a quick peak and then it comes down. So the overall band or operating band of the IM is, as I said in the review, 72 to 70, sorry, 74 to 7 to almost 80, 6 dBs. That's what the gross of the frequency response is. And what I can say about the Nightingale Pro is that it sounds exceptionally detailed, okay? It has taken that planar magic, I think, really to a point where it's incredible how they've been able to make it be this detailed. But I don't know if, I honestly don't know. I don't know what they did there. But in other planar IMs, when they try to be this intense up top, okay, they kind of seem like they're shouting. And in this particular case, I don't know if it's because they focus that energy in two specific points, 2 kilohertz, so the transition from the mids into the up mids, and then above 10K, and then the rest is all very neutralish. And maybe that's the magic there, coupled to the fact that the lower frequencies are not being overly done, so they don't make or take the driver into a position where it's maybe entering non-linear function or non-linear working parameters, and it sounds incredible without being fatiguing or anything of the sort. Okay, and as if you guys recall, I mentioned the P1 Plus. Again, another IM which has got very much this kind of neutral approach to it, and if you've ever listened to the P1 Plus, I think you will concur with that. It's about being correct in its sounding, and it needs power. Trust me, it needs power. But if you have power, you will be impressed. Yes, of course, the bass is not as visceral, not as present as on the other IMs that I've shown you here. But this is not an IM that's about being visceral or anything. It's about being correct, and this thing is correct, trust me. And then the other one that I also very much enjoyed in this kind of more neutralish approach is the original Panda. And again, everything in the original Panda sits within 73 to 79, so 6 dBs. And I think that this magic of 6 dB operating window again is what makes the Panda be so effective and sound so good. It sounds incredible. They subsequently changed the tuning of the Panda, or of the original Panda rather, to make it sound more like the rest of the other planar IEMs, and it kind of, I think, lost its magic. But the original Panda and the P1 Plus are two really impressive sounding planars, as is the SIVGA, the Nightingale Pro. And the thing that impresses me again about SIVGA especially is that they are not afraid to give us tunings which on paper might look a little bit off-putting, and then when you actually listen to the IM, you say, wow, this thing can play music. All right, guys, that's it. I'm gonna upload this video now, and yeah, and we'll talk. See you in the next review. As always, like and subscribe. If there's any questions you have, please feel free to let me know, and I'll do my best to answer. Take care now. Bye bye.